What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be talking about field of view in Call of Duty. Specifically, why does the console version not have a field of view slider in this game? I see this question being asked a ton in the community right now. I think it's because a lot of console players went over to the PC beta because it was free and open and anybody could try it out. And they finally got their first experience with a field of view slider in Call of Duty, and a lot of people really like it, and they're now wondering, why isn't this in console? Why is it only on the PC version? So today I wanted to go over the likely reasons for why we don't have a field of view slider on console for Call of Duty. But first, I'm quickly just going to explain what field of view is, because a lot of times when this topic gets brought up, you have a few people that are console-only players and they've never heard of a field of view slider. So let's just quickly show what that is. Field of view is basically how much of the world around you can you see. It's the width of your vision. Having a very high field of view means you have very wide vision. You can see a lot of what's going on around you. Having a lower field of view kind of cuts off your peripherals a little bit, and it more so zooms you into the middle of your screen. So just as a comparison here, this is the lowest field of view setting at 65 on PC, which is actually the standard field of view and the only field of view setting on console. Now let's bump that up to the current maximum field of view setting, which is 90. As you can see, it expands your vision a little bit. You can see more areas of the map on the edges of your screen, and it kind of zooms everything out, aside from your gun. But that's something that Call of Duty World War II has done differently than, I would say, most games that have a field of view slider. So as you can very clearly see, the higher the field of view you have, the more you can see going on around you. So why don't consoles have this field of view slider? Why don't they allow you to change your field of view from 65? There's actually a couple different reasons for this that I feel are very likely. Keep in mind, first off, on console, field of view sliders in the past were extremely rare. You didn't see them on very many games, especially FPS games, on console until the last few years. They've started to become popular in games. We see them in Doom, we see them in Titanfall 2, we see them in Battlefield 1. Why not Call of Duty? The first reason, and the biggest reason here, is performance. When you have a higher field of view, there's more going on your screen that you have to render. Since you can see more, you have to render more. You have to be processing more at any given time. This will affect your frame rate, and in some cases it will also affect your resolution if they use some sort of a dynamic buffering system or something along those lines, maybe a bit of a motion blur system. It can affect your resolution as well. Call of Duty is known for its steady, consistent 60 FPS experience on console. It rarely dips below 60 FPS. This is something that they're known for, and this is one of the big things that contributes to that unique feel that Call of Duty has over other FPS games. One of the big reasons the controls feel so tight and responsive and smooth is it gets that consistent 60 FPS, which even today there's a lot of FPS games on the market that don't achieve that steady 60 FPS, especially for multiplayer. So a lot of people have been saying, well, if Battlefield 1 can do it, or if Titanfall can do it, or if Doom can do it, why can't Call of Duty do it on console? And technically, yes, Call of Duty could do an FoV slider on console, but they would no longer be achieving that consistent, steady FPS experience on the regular versions of the consoles. On the Pro versions, I'm sure it would handle it just fine. But the regular PS4 and the regular Xbox One, we would start to see that frame rate dip, and I don't think Call of Duty wants to go this route. They want to stick to what they're known for. Just for comparison's sake, Battlefield 1 on PS4 runs at approximately 45 to 50 FPS. When you max out the field of view, that FPS is going to dip even lower than that. Call of Duty doesn't want a game that's running at 40 to 50 FPS. Their development of the game actually aims at that target of 60 FPS consistently. Now, one thing that Call of Duty could do in the future is add an FoV slider and then follow suit with what Titanfall 2 has done. Based on a little bit of reading that I've done, it appears Titanfall 2 maintains a steady 60 FPS even when you increase the field of view. And the reason they're able to accomplish this is they use a dynamic frame buffer system. So what this means is when there's a heavy load and there's a lot to render on the screen and it would otherwise be causing an FPS drop, they actually reduce the resolution at that given point to maintain that 60 FPS. So for Call of Duty, this would still meet their criteria of maintaining that 60 FPS experience, but it would come at a cost of a reduction to your resolution when there's a lot going on your screen. So it's absolutely technically viable for Call of Duty to do this on console, but there's one other reason that I think a lot of people don't consider when they're looking at this, On console at least, this game is really designed to be that steady, consistent experience where everybody's on a level playing field. You don't have somebody with a really fancy high-end PC, for instance, that's running the game so much faster and smoother and higher resolution than you. Everybody's got the same experience. Now, I realize there's now the pro versions of the consoles, but in reality, it's not like that's giving you way more frames or anything like a high-end PC versus a lower-end gaming PC. So the big thing with this argument here is when you see a player, for instance, running perpendicular to you, you know that there's no way that they can see you at that point in time. You know what their field of view is because that's the same field of view that everybody has. And this influences your decision making in the game. So if you see that guy running perpendicular to you, you know that maybe you can sneak up behind him because you know that he doesn't see you right now and you can knife him in the back or something. When you have an FoV slider, especially when you have one that goes to the extremes, I would say more extreme than we're seeing in the CoD WW2 beta for PC, if you have a field of view that goes up to like 110 or 120, something crazy like that, then you have no idea what that guy can see. He could be running perpendicular to you, obviously not looking in your direction at all, but he still could very easily see you with a really high field of view. Just as another example, if you have a guy that's in a power position that you know very, very well, you've been in that power position before, you know what he can and can't see based on a standard field of view. You know if he's looking towards or shooting towards a certain area that you can maybe sneak through this other angle because you know he won't be able to see you with that lower field of view because he's got a little bit of tunnel vision towards the guy he's actually focused on and shooting at. This allows you to use your experience and your knowledge to gain that advantage over that player. You can sneak through in an area that is currently a blind spot and you know is a blind spot. Add an FoV slider and allow him to see a much wider range, you have no idea if he's able to see you or not there. So this is one argument against an FoV slider that I actually completely understand and partially agree with. Having said that, in the future, if it's technically viable, I would like to see Call of Duty implement a limited field of view slider. I don't want anything too crazy where it's a complete like fisheye and you can see everything going on around you, but maybe have an FoV slider from 65 to 80 or 65 to 90, something like that. Nothing too crazy. Somebody with an 80 FoV isn't going to have a significant advantage over somebody with a 65 FoV, but there would be a little bit of choice for us. If they could do that while maintaining a steady 60 FPS, like I said, maybe they have to use a dynamic frame buffer system, but if they can do that while maintaining Call of Duty frame rates, I would be quite happy to have that choice available to me. And with that, I'd like to know in the comment section below, what do you think about having an FoV slider on the console versions of Call of Duty in the future? Do you think it's a good idea? Would you be really excited to see one? Or do you prefer everybody's field of view to be locked exactly the same, so everybody's on that same level playing field? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.